If you spend enough time making content on YouTube, at some point, companies are going to start reaching out and offering you free gear in exchange for reviews and other content. On the surface, it sounds like a great deal, and a lot of the time, it is a great deal. You have the opportunity to create this lasting, mutually beneficial relationship with some of these companies. You get to create more content for your channel, potentially growing your viewership and your subscribership, and everybody wins. There is a dark side to the free gear equation, and in this video, I want to kind of highlight some of the red flags to look out for from some of these more predatory companies who do what I like to call content farming. And what I mean by that is that they aren't actually interested in your review. They aren't interested in your expertise. They aren't interested in your opinion. They just want your face sitting next to their gear in content that they can use in targeted ads on social media without having to pay for the actual advertisement. So in recent months, I have been contacted by 2 different companies when honestly, I get probably 6 to 8 of these emails a month. I ignore or politely decline 99% of them because they just aren't pieces of gear that I could see myself carrying or that I think would add value to the channel or would add value to you as the viewer. I always want to present things on my channel that I think can earn a spot in your backpack, that can earn their weight. And most of the stuff that these companies reach out and offer, the review opportunity aren't things that I see any value in. Recently, there were 2 companies who sent out these review opportunity emails, and I was interested. They were pieces of gear that I thought would add value, not just to my backpacking experience, but to your backpacking experience. So I did something I hardly ever do, and I said yes. Company A, after I said I was interested, immediately responded like, "Oh, that's great. What can we expect? Da 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 da." So I responded with kind of this copy and paste text that I've come up with for these companies that very clearly lays out my review process. I will field test everything. I want to use the thing as it's designed in a real world situation. I don't want to do, an open box review or offer an opinion on something I haven't used in its intended purpose. So I sent them back the list of my stipulations in terms of what I will do for a review and what I won't do. They wrote back that, "Hey, this all sounds great. We're excited. Let's proceed." Cool. Let's proceed. This does sound great. I'm actually really excited too. So they mail out the package. I get a tracking number. And the day after I get the email with the tracking number, I get a follow-up email basically requesting to change the agreement that we'd already made. So in addition to the review, now they want 2 to 3 short videos that they can use for YouTube Shorts and Reels, 30 to 45-second videos. And they want 5 to 10 lifestyle camping photographs of me using this piece of equipment. And as that was not the original deal that we made, the deal that we made was they would send me a piece of gear, I would test the piece of gear, I would provide a fair, unbiased, honest review of the piece of gear. I wrote them back and I was like, "Hey, I understand what you're asking for, but I'm not interested in providing you with free advertising material. So here's my price list. If you want shorts, they cost X amount. If you want photographs, they cost X amount. There's a discount for, if you want 3 shorts or 10 photos, we can wiggle around on the price a little bit, but I'm not giving you free advertising, but I'm more than happy to let you pay me to make commercials for you." And they wrote back in a couple of days declining my offer and stating that they wanted to go back to just the original agreement, which was just the piece of gear in exchange for a review, which was fine by me because I would prefer to do that anyway. I don't really want to make commercials for people, but if there's a big enough payday in it, I might. So get the piece of gear, and I don't think I had it even 6 hours before I get an email asking when they can expect the review. And I wrote back and I was like, well, as originally agreed upon, I have hikes scheduled on these dates. I will carry your piece of equipment on those hikes. I will test it in the field. When I get back from those 2 trips after testing it, I will film a review. They wrote back, hey, you know what? Sounds great. Sorry if we overstepped our bounds. And I haven't heard back from them since, which is kind of cool. I have filmed the review, and as a courtesy, I sent them a preview before the review went live. So we'll see what they have to say about it, if they want to make any changes or how that goes. I'm anticipating it goes pretty smoothly, but you never know. Company B never sent the product out. And they basically sent me a script of what the review needed to be. And they framed it like, hey, these are the basic bullet points. Like, feel free to present them however, you feel best fits the personality of your channel, but this is essentially what the review needs to say. So I wrote them back and basically politely declined their script, told them that I would, as we originally agreed, field test and do a review. And they completely ghosted me. Never heard back from them, which is totally fine because that's probably not a company I want to work with anyway. Now, I don't want to scare you off from taking on some of these review opportunities or these brand deals because they can be really beneficial to your YouTube channel. But you do need to protect yourself and protect the integrity of your channel. You don't want to get in bed with some of these companies who are basically just using you as a content farm. So what are some of the big red flags to look out for? Number 1, right out of the gate, sending a script. That is a hard no, in my opinion. I'm not going to record a review that you've scripted for me. I will do a review of a product and tell you what I honestly think about it, but I'm not going to sit here in front of the camera and tell my viewers what you want them to hear about your product. That's just not going to happen. And I don't think anyone should do that, to be completely honest. Another big red flag is, that idea of changing the deal. After you've already made an agreement, after the product is in the mail, now they're asking for all this additional content. Now that one's not necessarily a hard no. I lean towards saying no when they try to do that, just because I think it's shady to try to change a deal once you have that kind of handshake agreement. But if they're willing to pay you for this additional content, that's a decision that you have to make as an individual content creator. What is your price tag? And honestly, if you can create the content that they want with integrity and maintaining the reputation of your channel and still get paid, yeah, do that. May as well, right? Because one of the words you'll hear a lot when these companies are reaching out to is exposure. They'll, oh gosh, doing a review for us will be great exposure for your channel. And they do kind of primarily reach out to smaller channels like mine. I have around 2,000 subscribers. And so you'll see very often, if you are a channel with like 500 to say 3,500 subscribers, those are the kind of emails that you're getting is, oh, this will be exposure for a channel. You'll be able to grow your channel by working with us. You'll be able to, but at the end of the day, like, exposure doesn't pay the rent. And making this kind of content costs. Like, there are costs involved in making YouTube content. We have fuel costs to drive to the trailhead. We oftentimes have permitting fees. You have all the money you've already spent on the front end, getting your backpacking kit together, getting your camera gear together, getting your audio equipment together. So there are all these costs, and your time has value. So don't undersell yourself. When these companies are asking you for content, their intent is to make a profit off of your content. you should be fairly compensated for that. And don't be afraid to set a price list and ask for money. The worst thing they can do is say no. And when they say no, that's probably not a company you wanted to work with to begin with. Now, the flip side of that, in my experience, has been working with cottage brands. I've had the opportunity to work with several smaller cottage brands over the years, and they've been fantastic experiences. And I think that's an important thing to note, is that, oftentimes when you're working with a cottage brand, you're working with people from the backpacking community. You're working with people who saw a need while they were on trail. They had a problem, they found a solution, they invented a thing that solved their problem, and they assume that other backpackers may have this same problem, and so they start selling this product. And it's been fun working with the smaller brands. So I want to give kind of 3 quick shout outs and examples of cottage brands I've worked with who've been super pleasant and just really enjoyable. The first one is Ultralight Sacks. They sent me kind of a pre-production version of their Recyclops 35-liter frameless backpack. And there was no expectation of content to be made around the backpack. They just wanted me to test it and write them back and say, hey, these are the things I liked, these are the things I didn't like. And after using the backpack for about 2 years and absolutely loving it, it's a fantastic backpack, I did finally film a review for it because it's a product I believe in and it's a company I believe in. Similarly, recently I got care packages from Igneous Gear and from Alpenglow Gear. And again, no expectation of content. They just wanted me to have some stuff, test it, use it, let them know what I think about it. And I will be filming content around some of those pieces of gear that they've sent me because I'm really enjoying using them. And I think that they would add value not just to my backpacking kit, but to your backpacking kit. And that is the most important thing, in my opinion, is any review that I do, any product that I feature on my channel needs to be something that I truly believe adds value, not just to my backpacking experience, but to your backpacking experience. Now, all of that said, I don't want to scare you away from taking on some of these review opportunities or taking on some of these brand deals or taking on some of these sponsorships, because there are really good companies out there who have everyone's best intentions at heart. They want to help your channel grow. They want to work with you. They don't just want to take from you. And recognizing the difference between a company that wants to work with you and a company that wants you to work for them is integral, I think, to maintaining the reputation of your channel. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, on YouTube than following a creator for years or, however long you follow somebody, and all of a sudden they start pumping out these kind of half-hearted reviews of products that you can tell they've never used in the field. It's always funny to me as a creator to get these emails that I'll either decline or ignore, and then in the months to follow see videos pop up for this piece of gear, and I'm like, oh, okay, you got the same email I did, but you agreed to it. And I think there's a way to approach all of these product reviews with honesty and integrity. You just have to be careful about the companies you choose to work with. I've seen time and time again, I've seen companies essentially steal content from creators. Like somebody will film a review of a piece of gear and you go to their channel and you watch the review and it was, they weren't very excited about the piece of gear. They didn't like it. They didn't think it added value to their kit or whatever. But then you'll see the company posting snippets of the review minus the audio, just the video, and presenting it as though this creator loved this piece of gear. And it's so shady and it's so dishonest. And we need to learn to protect ourselves and protect just the reputation of our channels by either saying no to these kinds of companies, or when they do something shady like that, reach out immediately. Contact them. Go, hey, you're misrepresenting the content that I created. You have no right to do this. I don't know what the repercussions could be, or what the what the path forward is if a company does do something shady like that. But I feel like immediately communicating with them that what they're doing is outside of the scope of what you agreed upon is very important. At the end of the day, all of us creating content on YouTube want to grow. We want to see that subscriber number go up. We want to see the view time grow up. And doing gear reviews is kind of the quickest path to watching both of those numbers go on the rise. I wish it weren't so. I wish more people were into watching trip videos. I wish more people wanted to live vicariously through our experiences on trail, but the reality is that most people come to YouTube to learn something. So gear reviews are a good way to grow the channel kind of organically and still be able to make the kind of content you want to make, still be able to make those trip videos and do the kind of things that you want to do. But it's an easy trap to fall into, to doing bad reviews of bad gear and earning yourself a reputation of not being a reputable channel to follow. So at the end of the day, don't undervalue yourself. When these companies reach out and they're asking for content, they're really asking for advertising. Charge them accordingly. Don't undersell yourself. And this, if you take one thing away from this video today, if you take one thing away from my ramblings this afternoon, don't let these companies take advantage of you. Free gear is never free. They're always looking for something, whether it's something as benign as just your input back on how the product worked or how you enjoyed the product, or if it's something more like, creating free advertising dollars for them. In either case, it's important to recognize your value as a creator and to recognize your channel's value, and don't sell yourself short. Don't be afraid to ask for money. Don't be afraid to say no to certain aspects of a deal, and don't be afraid to set your own parameters for how you will approach reviewing gear for a lot of these companies. That would be the main point that I wanted to make with this video, is just don't sell yourself short. And if you can get paid, get paid.